Good morning, committee, and welcome to members of the public. Good morning, committee, and welcome to members of the public joining us today, both in person and online. This is the 11th of January 2024 meeting of the Western and Southern Area Planning Committee, which is one of the three area-based planning committees of the Dorset Council. Our area of remit covers the previous Weymouth and Portland Borough Council and most of the previous West Dorset District Council areas. The Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting to which the public are invited. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair. They must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. To support this, please switch off your mobile phones and select silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Members of the public are allowed to record or film any part of the meeting. However, they should conform to the protocol for filming and audio recording of public council meetings and not distract the proceedings. Those filming should only focus on those directly involved in the conduct of the meeting. The meeting is also being live streamed, and a copy of the recording will be available to view on the council website after the meeting. No fire alarm test is expected. If the fire alarm sounds, can all present leave the building as quickly as possible by way of the closest exit and follow the directions to the nearest assembly point away from the civic offices. Public amenities can be located in the foyer of County Hall adjacent to the entrance. Members of the public who have given advance notice of their wish to speak on an application will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. No material is to be circulated to members of the committee. For the benefit of the public, my name is Councillor David Shortell, Chairman of this Area Planning Committee, and my Vice Chairman is Councillor Jean Dunseth. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning to you. To introduce other members of the committee, Councillor Dave Balwell. Good morning, David. Councillor Kelvin Clayton. Good morning, Kelvin. Good morning. Councillor Susan Cocking. Councillor Nick Arlen. Good morning, Nick. Good morning to you. Councillor Paul Kimber. Councillor Louis O'Leary. Councillor Bill Pipe. Councillor Kate Weller. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Chair.
Councillor Sarah Williams. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning. And Councillor John Worth. Good morning, John. Good morning. Officers involved in the meeting include Katrina Trevitt, Development Manager, Anna Lee, Service Manager, Hannah Massey, Lawyer, Regulatory. Good morning, Hannah. Thomas Wild, Senior Planning Officer, Robert Parr, Planning Officer, Nicola Yates, Conservation and Design Officer, John Miles, Democratic Services Officer, Josh Kennedy, and good morning, Elaine, and Josh Kennedy, Democratic Services Apprentice. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies. To confirm any apologies for absence. Over to you, Josh.
Thank you, Chair. So we've received apologies from Councillors Susan Cocking, Paul Kimber and Louis O'Leary.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 2 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Does any member have any declarations of pecuniary or other conflict of interest, bias or predetermination regarding any item on the agenda? I'll take Councillor David Bolwell first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Items 5B and 5C on the agenda have already been through Bridport Town Council Planning Committee, which I chair. Therefore, I will leave the room and not take part in the debate or vote. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I understand Councillor Kelvin Clayton also indicated.
Yes, Chair. Same reason. I also sit on Bridport Town Council Planning where we considered this application, so I will leave the room as well. I think there's still quorate.
Give you Councillor. No one else? No, okay. Thank you for that. Item 3 on the agenda. To confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of November 2023. Has all members received a copy of those minutes? If members are content, I will sign those minutes as a true record of what took place. Thank you for that. Item 4 on the agenda is public participation. Only members of the public who have registered to speak on an application will be invited to address the committee. The order of speaking will normally be the first 3 in objection and the first 3 in support, including the applicant or agent. If a ward councillor who is not a member of the committee wishes to address the meeting, they will be allowed 3 minutes to do so. Neither the objectors or supporters will normally be questioned except to clarify a point of fact by the chairman. All written statements received by Democratic Services have been passed to members prior to this meeting. Item 5 on the agenda is planning applications. We have 4 planning applications before us today for consideration. A comfort break of 5 or 10 minutes will be taken as and when is requested. The first of those items is item 5A, which is application P FUL 2023-05098, which is Brackenbury Community Nursing, 3 Yard Close, Portland. And that's for a change of use of building from a community nursery, that's use class EF, to a children's home, use class C2, and to carry out landscaping work. I now invite Thomas Weil, the case officer, to introduce this item.
Councillor Ireland will wish to speak.
Thank you, thank you. Before I do so, I will ask Councillor Ireland to address the committee.
Sorry to interrupt, Chairman, but we can't get into the hybrid link. We're all sitting here. Yeah, we're sitting here and it's saying we're waiting to join. So.
Is it possible to have a look at that, please? Thank you. Is everyone content? Everyone has access? Fantastic. Okay, so again, I invite Thomas Wild, the case officer, to introduce this item. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we have application PFUL 2023-05098, which is change of use of from a community nursery in use class EF to a children's home use class C2, carrying out of landscaping works at Brackenbury Community Nursery, 3 Yards Close, Portland. The application is at committee today because the council is both the landowner and the applicant. This slide shows... Somebody's got their microphone on, I think. This slide shows the site in the context of Portland. We have the site outlined in red here, so it's in the northern part of Portland, in the Underhill area. We have, so we zoomed in slightly, we have the immediate context of the site. We have the high street to the north, which is predominantly residential development on either side of the road. Residential to the development to the south of the site on 3 Yards Close, which is on higher ground. We have Cove Cottages to the west of the site. That is on lower ground, and they back onto the site. And there's a retaining wall between along this boundary of the site, between the site and those cottages. And the building to the east is a former school building, which is now occupied by Weymouth and Portland Town Council. That comprises a preschool and community venue. This, sorry, did I? Sorry, yes, Portland Town Council, apologies. This is a street view image of the site. It's actually quite a dated image from 2009, but it is quite useful compared to the site as existing, because it shows the topography of the site in a way that wouldn't be visible on recent photos due to fencing and things that have been erected on the site since this photo was taken. It's just show how the building sits in the street scene relative to the street and neighbouring properties. So the building concerned is located centrally here, as I'm indicating. As you can see, it's set quite significantly down from the level of the road. And in this photo, you can see that the building is surrounded by close board fences at approximately 1.8 metres in height. It should be noted, however, that these close board fences are no longer present, and a new fence has been built at the eastern boundary of the site, roughly where I'm indicating now. You can see the roofs of Cove cottages running along behind the ridgeline of the site, the building on the site, and the elevations of the houses on 3 yards close to the south of the site can be shown here. You can see the change in elevation from the site to 3 yards close, and also how the houses on 3 yards close step up along with the slope of the road, and that continues along the length of that road. So this plan just shows the proposals and sites. So the proposals comprise the change of use from the children's nursery to a care home with external landscaping and fencing. The change of use, the new use is considered to be C2, despite its relatively limited scale, providing accommodation to a single individual, and that's because of the level of care that is proposed and provided, and the fact that the facilities for carers mean that they would not live together as a single household. The proposal is intended for a specified occupant, referred to as E, who has specific needs which are not adequately met by their existing accommodation provision. In order to meet their needs, the landscaping and external facilities proposed include a 3-metre timber fencing, which is shown by the orange amber dotted line, as I'm indicating here, and then a 2.4-metre mesh fencing, shown by the turquoise line, which provides a route from the parking area to the front of the building, which is secure. There is a reference, just to note at this stage, there's a reference that's paragraph 16.8 of the committee report to the fencing being 1.4 metres. Just to confirm, that is a typographical error, and it should read 2.4 metres. And the specification for the fencing has been defined to meet these identified needs and to provide a safe and secure environment for them, and that their specific needs and characteristics mean that they are inclined to climb lower fences and put themselves to escape the site, and therefore putting themselves at risk. In addition to this fencing, we have a landscaping scheme shown on the in those areas that aren't enclosed by the high fencing. So we have tree planting to the eastern edge of the site, and hedgerow and shrub planting around the boundaries, with a lower mesh fencing just to define the boundary and replace existing fencing on the site. This slide just shows the floor plan of the layout of the building as it currently exists. So there's a large classroom space with a conservatory, a kitchen, staff room, and toilets accessible, and girls and boys WCs, just reflecting the historic previous use of the site. And this is the proposed changes to the building. So as you see, mostly internal changes. These lighter coloured orange are newly built internal walls. So the nursery classroom is divided to form a kitchen, living room, dining room, and a bedroom for E. The existing kitchen and offices become a carer's bedroom and a spare bedroom, and then the toilets become a bathroom for E, a utility room, and a staff shower and toilet room. This slide shows the existing elevations of the building. You can see it's quite a simple structure with a pitch roof, gable ends, constructed in local stone, and this is the elevations as proposed. So minimal level of changes externally. Principally, the changes include the installation of the solar panels on the roof of the building. This slide just shows a typical specification for the fencing that is proposed. These are catalogue images. So the left-hand side is the timber fencing, which would be proposed to surround the rear garden, which is specified as a high-quality acoustic type fence, which the specification for that is because it's quite smooth and therefore difficult to climb. And then we have the right-hand side showing the mesh fencing, which would surround the parking area and path to the building. This photo is a view looking northwards from the site towards Cove Cottages. We can see the proximity of the site to Cove Cottages and the retaining wall. So the retaining wall runs roughly here. There's a chain link fence and the remnants of the timber fencing that we saw in the earlier photograph. And you can see that Cove Cottages basically back onto the site on lower ground. This is looking northwards again towards Cove Cottages, located here, just showing the proximity. This is a neighbouring property immediately to the north of the site, 3 Cove Cottages. So we have the boundary between the sites with a fence and the property located there. So the main issues that we're facing with this application are, starting with principle. It's considered that the principle of the development is acceptable, as although there would be a change of use, there would not be any overall loss of community facilities or assets as part of the proposal. So there is no conflict with relevant policies in that regard. And the development will also enable the council to meet E's specific needs and meet their obligations to E in that regard. In terms of highways, there's been no objection from the Highways Authority. There would be no loss of on-street parking availability as well. So access is taken from an existing turning head, which currently has double yellow lines at the moment. So there is no loss of on-street parking. And conditions have been recommended to ensure there be no obstruction through the construction and the provision of the gates. And then we have impact on character and heritage assets. So it has been considered that the installation of the fencing would lead to some minor harm to the setting of neighbouring listed buildings and the Underhill Conservation Area, which the site straddles the boundary of. That harm has been assessed as being at the lower end of the scale of less than substantial harm. And the assessment of officers is that the harm in this instance is outweighed by the public benefits of the scheme in terms of retaining a community asset and meeting these needs in providing this accommodation. In terms of wider character impacts, there would be some impact as a result of the introduction of the fencing into the area, and that would have an impact on the character the area, but it's considered that this would be in part offset by the new landscape planting that is proposed. And then we turn to the impact on residential amenity, principally from the new fencing which is proposed. This plan shows section AA, which has been provided by the design team, with Cove Cottages to the north here. The red dotted lines that you can see on the plans are drawn as 25-degree lines from the windows in the rear of those properties. This line is derived from guidance from the BRE about daylight and sunlight. They define a test for crossing a 25-degree line from the horizontal, and if a development doesn't cross that line, it's assessed that it wouldn't generally have an unacceptable impact on daylight and sunlight, and you can see that the fencing doesn't cross that 25-degree line. The fencing, and that has been achieved by setting the fencing in from the boundary of the site to limit its impact, so there would be a buffer zone provided. And so it is considered that the sections have illustrated that the impacts of the site on neighbours would be acceptable. And just moving, these plans show section BB, through, which shows the mesh fencing, which is proposed. This is effectively the street scene. So we have the parking area at the top moving down towards the building. And bottom is section CC, which shows the relationship with 3 Cove Cottages, which we saw earlier. And again, the 25-degree line showing that the fencing doesn't breach that 25-degree line and being inset from the boundary of the site. Therefore, we have a recommendation that the committee grant planning permission today, subject to conditions as set out in the committee report, which are the standard 3-year time limit, the approved plans list, details of soft landscaping and planting to be submitted and then subsequently implemented, the fencing to be implemented as per the details in the submission in the submitted planning application, the construction of turning and parking spaces, and the implementation of the agreed biodiversity plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Thomas. Thank you. There are no public speakers on this particular item. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the case officer?
Yes, Councillor Bolwell.
Councillor Bowell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm sorry to actually come up with a question on this one. Could I ask, is this defined as a care home or a nursing home? Please.
So in planning terms, it's a care home. In terms of use class, the both fall within the same C2 use class in terms of the use classes order and planning terms.
Yeah, thanks. It's out of interest, Thomas. How many people do there have to be for it to be a care home? Is it because I've heard numbers of 2 to 20, and it's just suddenly crossed my mind. How is the definition correct in this case, or can you just be a care home for one person? Thank you.
I think generally speaking, care homes would have more residents, but it's to do with the amount of care that residents receive, not necessarily the number of residents.
Councillor Bowell.
Yeah, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. You didn't quite answer the question. The definition that I've always told, and my wife's been involved with nursing homes and care homes for a long, long time, is the fact that it's 2 to 20. So I'm just trying to get to the point of, are we incorrect in calling it a care home if the minimum has to be 2 people that are in residence? That's all, just as a point of a technical point. Thank you.
There isn't any lower or upper definition of care home in terms of residents for the planning system. It may be that other regimes provide that. But
Yeah, sorry, I'll just confirm that I think the important part or the important consideration here is that it doesn't change. We've got the right use class in terms of this, of the C2. So it wouldn't matter if it was a nursing home or a care home. It's the fact that we've got the right use class that we will be stipulating in terms of this decision and in terms of the approval.
Yeah, I fully understand that. It's just a technical point that if we carry on calling it a care home when in fact it is a nursing home, and there's a difference in the amount of the level of care that's given in one and the other. But I understand the use is still C2. It's just that we're calling it a care home rather than a nursing home, and etc. And I was concerned that there may be a minimum number of people for the definition to be correct. That's all. But other than that, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Welwell. Councillor Weller?
Thank you. I understand what Councillor Bowl is saying, although I don't see that there's a problem there. And it's just occurred to me that E will be a child or a young person in local authority care, and I should have declared that I am the chairman of the Corporate Parenting Board, which takes responsibility for our children in Dorset care. So it's not a pecuniary interest or anything else, quite clearly, but for the purposes of completeness, I'd like to state that, and also for Councillor Bowell's benefit, although I'm sure he already knows this, is we have a number of children and young people who do require very, very specialist care. So it is, although it's being called a care home, it is effectively their home. And we are caring for them in the best possible way for them. And clearly, this has complex needs with the degree of security and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weller. Do we have anyone else wishing to ask a technical question? My interest, of course, is in the fencing, which I've already expressed, the degree of soundproofing for the benefit of the adjacent residences. And are you happy that, in fact, that is sufficiently soundproofed to prevent any disruption?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think the specification of the fencing hasn't been specified specifically to provide a particular level of soundproofing. It is an acoustic type fence because that's the most difficult to climb, because that's ultimately the need that has driven the design. Ordinarily, we wouldn't particularly require a level of acoustic treatment for this type of use. It's generally considered to be a relatively neighbourly use. But the provision of the acoustic fencing specifically would provide an additional benefit. So I think we are satisfied that that would be appropriate.
Thank you for that, Thomas. No one else wishing to speak? Thank you. Before I open the debate, members, may I remind you to direct any questions or remarks through the chair, and I will invite members to speak in turn. I also ask members to state their names before addressing the committee and speak directly into the microphone. Microphones should be kept on mute when not speaking. I now open the debate to members. Anyone wishing to speak?
Can Councillor Weller vote? Yes.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Councillor Ireland.
Councillor Ireland.
I'm just happy to propose a recommendation that's off in the papers.
I was just about to say, if there's no more deliberation and members are satisfied that they have heard the entire presentation and debate, I will seek to take a vote by show of hands. I've already got a proposition.
Councillor Williams.
Councillor Williams.
Happy to second.
Committee, we've got a proposal on the floor, duly seconded. I'll now take a vote by show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That proves in favour of the recommendation. Thank you for that. We'll now go on to the second item for debate, and that's 5B.
Councillor Bolwell
And
Clayton agreed to leave.
Right, okay. Councillor Burwell and Councillor Clayton. Yeah, I understand that you wish to depart for this particular item and the next one, I understand.
Yeah. B and C.
B and C.
We're going to go for a coffee.
Okay, we'll give you a shout when we're ready. Okay, committee, thank you very much indeed for that. Application, this is 5B, application PFUL 2023-05347, 4 to 5 King Square, King Street, Bridport, DT6 3QE. Install a defibrillator box on a building in a public car park. I invite Robert Parr, the case officer, to introduce this item, and I believe he is introducing the next item on the same premises, and I assume, therefore, that you'll be taking the two together and we'll be voting separately. Okay, so over to Robert, Robert Parr being the case officer. So over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. So this is an application, a dual application, a full and listed building consent application from Bridport Christian Fellowship to install a defibrillator box on a building in a public car park. So this slide provides you with the pink star, the general location of the application site. And here we can see sort of zoomed in with the red line location plan showing the access into the car parking area and the actual application building there in the middle. To help provide some context, we provide the street scene photograph here. You can see it's a single story and a two-story building, listed building, grade 2, stone walls and tile roof, obviously set within the existing car park, public car park. The arrow here shows the approximate location of the proposed defibrillator, which should be on the wall there. And here we see sort of the block plan, again, showing the location of the defibrillator box on the west elevation there. Here we see the west elevation, and down here, where the arrow is, obviously, we show the defibrillator box, which should be set, I think, approximately 1.2 metres from the ground level. Just to help members visualise what will be installed, there's a photo of the proposed defibrillator box within which the defibrillator itself would sit. It's obviously yellow in colour, just to help it stand out. People obviously find it quickly in emergency. So the key planning issues here, the principle of development, the location of the development is accessible in the town, adjacent to a car parking. The addition of the box to the building is acceptable in principle. It's within the defined development boundary. With regards to the visual impact, the addition of the box, the elevation of the building would have minimal visual impact, and it's considered acceptable in those terms. With regards to amenity, there's no adverse impact been identified on residential amenity in nearby dwellings. They're quite some distance away. And then with regards to their impact on heritage assets, as there would be some minor harm carried to the listed building with regards to fixing the defibrillator box to the listed building, there would be less than substantial harm has been identified. However, this is considered to be outweighed by the public benefits of the proposal, and no adverse impact on highways have been identified. So therefore, the recommendation for the full application is to grant planning permission subject to conditions with regards to commencement and approved plans. And likewise, for the listed building consent application, is to grant listed building consent subject to conditions regarding commencement and approved plans. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much indeed. There's no public speakers. Any questions of a technical nature for the case officer for this particular application, that's the full application, or the listed building consent application, which is item 5C? Councillor Williams.
Oh, Councillor Ireland.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm getting feedback for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Minor point, I guess. The defibrillator will require power for lighting and cabinet heater. Is the wiring going to be internal into the box, or is it going to be external on the surface of the building?
I think my understanding is that there'll be internal through the wall to the box.
Councillor Williams.
Can, excuse me a moment, Councillor Williams. Can I just clarify that? Will that, in actual fact, be through the cemented section and not through the brick?
So the agent has confirmed that where possible they'll be fixing the box to the wall using the mortar joints rather than into the stonework. And I think that the same would be true for regards to the electricity supply coming through. Obviously, with the variability of that, there might be, it's not an exact science. But I think the intention is where possible to go through mortar joints to cause minimal damage.
Councillor Williams, sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine. I was going to ask exactly the same question, so it's been answered. Thank you.
A double apology. Thank you. Okay, right. If there's no more deliberation, the members are satisfied they've heard the entire presentation on both applications. I will take a proposal and a vote by show of hands separately for each application. So the first one, therefore, is the full application, which is 5B. Do I have a proposer?
Councillor Williams and Councillor Weller.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose. Can I propose both, or shall I just propose both, listed and the planning?
It's okay with you, take them completely separately so we can see the proposer and seconder for each. So I'll take you, for the first one, I'll take you as a proposer.
Councillor Weller.
And Councillor Weller.
I'll second that.
On the anyone else wishing to speak? Then I'm going to take a vote by show of hands on the application for the full application, which is 5B. All those in favour? Now, that was a full application for anyone viewing us online. I'll now take a proposer and a seconder for the second application, which is the listed building consent. Proposal?
Weller.
And Councillor Weller will second. Same proposer and seconder for the listed building consent. All those in favour?
Come back, haven't they?
Well, we're now awaiting to be rejoined by Councillors Burwell and Clayton. Thank you very much indeed, Robert, for your presentation. Thank you. Thank you. We've now been rejoined and we're full committee again to take item 5D on the agenda, and that's application number PLBC, listed building consent again, 2023-05439, 15 Bath Street, Weymouth, Dorset, DT4 7DS. And that's to replace an external front door and frame, repair and reinstate single glazed fan light above the door, installation of draft proofing, threshold strip and timber weather bar, internal alterations to provide smoke detectors throughout the property. I now invite Nicola Yates, the case officer, to introduce that item. Over to you, Nicola.
All right, thank you, Chair. Okay, thank you. This application has been brought to Planning Committee because the applicant is Dorset Council Housing Standards. The property is a Grade 2 listed mid-terrace dwelling located within Bath Street, which is a narrow residential road just off Commercial Road. The site is also within the Weymouth Town Council, Weymouth Town Centre Conservation Area. Number 15 is the three-storey mid-terrace dwelling, currently split into separate flats, the ground floor and the first floor being under separate ownership. The existing modern front door, which is the entrance to both dwellings, is in a poor state of repair, and the proposal seeks to replace this with a new 6-panel solid timber door, which would be painted black, with a single glazed fan light above. The proposal would not see a loss of historic fabric and is considered to preserve and enhance this listed building. Furthermore, the proposal seeks to install a series of hardwired smoke detectors internally. Existing wiring routes are to be utilised where possible to avoid impact on any historic fabric. The proposal is considered to preserve and enhance this heritage asset. A method statement for the works internally should be confirmed by way of a condition. The key issues is the impact on the heritage asset setting and the conservation area, and is considered to have a positive impact. Positive impact on the building and not harm the neighbouring listed buildings or the conservation area, complying with planning policy. We are therefore looking to grant approval subject to conditions, which would be the commence within 3 years, approved plans, approved document, and the submission of a method statement or schedule of works for the internal alterations to provide smoke detectors. And this is to be approved by the Planning Authority. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Nicola. Thank you for that. Again, there's no public speakers on this particular item. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the case officer or any other council officers? Councillor Ireland. So I take it from there, there's no technical questions? No, they're right, okay. I now open the debate to members. Are there anyone wishing to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted to see that this building is being enhanced in this way. That it's a lovely street and it's good that it's being cared for. And I'm happy to propose acceptance of the application.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Councillor Weller. I've got a proposal on the floor. Is there anyone wishing to second? Right, okay, thank you. If there's no one else wishing to speak, we've got a proposal and a seconder on the floor. All those in favour? For the benefit of those watching from home, that is a unanimous decision by the committee. Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes the applications today. Item 6 on the agenda is urgent items. I've had no prior notification of any item of business which is considered to be urgent pursuant to section 100B 4B of the Local Government Act 1972. Item 7 on the agenda is exempt business. I've had no prior notification of any item viewed as likely to disclose exempt information within the meaning of paragraph 3 of the Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972 as amended. Thank you for your indulgent committee, members of the public and officers. That concludes this meeting today. Thank you.